I inherit everything from my dad. My brother basically nothing. Am I the a-hole? In the days before my mother died, my brother and his family came to us for Christmas Eve and left early in the morning of the 25th to spend Christmas lunch with her folks. After my mother's death in 2013, my dad, I looked after him full-time. Me and my son have not seen them again for any family celebration. He and his wife only came once or twice in the year, not to visit, but to sleep over while being here for business and shopping. My dad successfully transferred all his money and car to my name 5 years ago. He always said that I should use the interest from the money to help me out when I retire or buy myself my dream home. Dad passed away this year. His instructions to me were clear, that my brother should get nothing besides his share of the family home. I was to empty his remaining accounts when he died and was made custodian of the accounts. I did not do this though, as I felt sorry for my brother and felt like a thief. My brother does not know any of this. There is now very little money left in the estate besides the old dilapidated house that needs to go to both of us. It will cost hundreds of thousands to fix it. Probably needs to be scrapped. My brother still thinks he is going to inherit a fortune and is already planning how to spend it. He wants me to take the house and he will take the money. There is not enough money left in the estate for this to happen. Only my brother came to Dad's funeral. His wife and sons apparently could not get off from work. However, he needed to leave straight after the ceremony to drive home to pack his car for a family trip to the coast. I am now very bitter that he and his family could not even set aside this little time for Dad. Am I the a-hole for insisting he gets 50% ownership of the house and keeping quiet about Dad's money? If the house gets sold, we should each still get a small fortune as it is built on prime property. The yard is too big for me to maintain all on my own, and I want to downscale for my retirement next year. Now for the top comments. Give him what your father left him. He doesn't deserve that. Thank you. One side of me says this. The other side makes me feel like a thief. Thief implies you stole it. Your father intended for you to have it and gave it to you. How can you steal something that is yours? If anything, consider it the back pay for everything you did. Your brother did no work. He gets no pay. I never expected anything. I loved my dada. I would give all his money away to just have him back. I know this does not make sense. I guess I still hurt too much to even want to touch the money. I reinvested it for at least another 5 years. Maybe I will come to a point where I will feel different one day. Ask yourself truly, if he was in your situation, would he give you anything? The answer is no, so honor your brother's actions of who he has shown to be. How he treated your father. Honor your father's wishes. If your brother knows he isn't getting anything and tries to repair the relationship, still don't do it. Motivation is screwed. That's what Dad used to say about my brother. Do you think your dad was unfair to your brother? If so, I can understand doing this. It's also okay for you to give this gift to your brother. However, it may not work out like you think. Your brother might not be grateful. Also, I find it interesting. He wants the money, not the property. He's already trying to leave you with the problems to sort. It is definitely a difficult dilemma. It is also okay to give him nothing and say you honor your father's wishes. I already need to sort out everything around the estate, etc. He can apparently not make the 2-hour drive to our city to help. He also cannot allow his wife to sleep alone in their house. So if he does come to help, it is to instruct me to do things like get the money out of Dad's pension annuity, etc. Dad's instructions were clear that the annuity should be split but not paid out, for us to draw an additional pension if we retire. My brother has no love for me. That I know. My mother always told him that I was the reason for all his problems. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my sister and her family because of her son and husband's entitlement? Me, 23 female, and my sister, 37 female, have always had a rocky relationship. We had our ups and downs, but we always had each other's backs. That's why, when her house had a really bad flood, I offered to let her stay with me and my girlfriend in our house. We had enough space and we talked it through first. So my sister, her husband, and my 13-year-old nephew packed up their things and set up camp in our house. My nephew and I have been fine, but he had this entitlement to him that always got on my nerves. Right off the bat, he tried to claim mine and my girlfriend's shared bedroom, like it was some guest house. I politely told him that he couldn't stay in our bedroom and could stay either in the guest room or our TV room in the basement. He immediately got upset and demanded our room. My brother-in-law tried to mediate the situation, but the whole reason he wanted the room was so he could have the TV for his gaming system. I showed him the TV room in the basement, and he relented and agreed to sleep downstairs. I was sort of relieved, assuming he would spend most of his time down there. It had only been a week before the issues started. Brother-in-law wouldn't clean up after himself. He would fill the sink with dirty dishes, leave his dirty laundry all over the house, and wouldn't clean up the bathroom after he used it. My nephew kept me and my girlfriend up at night with his screaming and yelling at his video games. I brought up these problems to my sister, and she just brushed it off by saying, "They're just used to how things are at home." I told her that I ran things differently, but she wouldn't budge. After another week, girlfriend asked me if the cat had thrown up somewhere downstairs because there was a very sour smell every time she went to do laundry. I looked around everywhere but found nothing, until I realized the smell was coming from my nephew. I almost gagged. He clearly hadn't showered in days. I talked to my sister and she tried the excuse of, "Boys will be boys," but I wasn't having that. I stormed downstairs and told my nephew that he needed to shower ASAP. He threw a fit and started throwing empty soda cans and food containers at me while cursing and insulting me. I brought up the issue to my sister, but all she did was try to gentle parent, which was just him getting his way by cussing out his mother. By the first month, me and girlfriend had finally had enough. During dinner, I brought up the issues that had been happening and how they were affecting me and girlfriend. All three of them brushed it off and claimed that they were too stressed. I bit my tongue, but I was fighting back, jumping across the table at my sister. The first month and a half of living with them was pure hell on earth. What immediately drew the line was overhearing brother-in-law on the phone with his friend. I tried not to listen until I heard him saying the most disrespectful and disgusting things about me and girlfriend. My blood immediately boiled when I heard him say that he thought living with two gay chicks would be much hotter. I snapped and demanded he and my sister pack their things and leave my house immediately. He acted like he hadn't just completely disrespected me in my own home. My sister tried to defend him, saying it was a joke. I refused to hear her out. I told her about her husband and son's disgusting habits and entitlement, and said I refused to deal with it anymore. I gave her 1 day to get all their stuff and leave before I did it myself. She immediately broke down in tears, claiming they had nowhere to go. I told her to get a hotel room, stay at a friend's, or heck, go to our parents' house. Anywhere but here. She called me cruel and heartless, but I didn't care. I couldn't take it anymore. I was exhausted. She called me a bee and went to her guest room. I didn't care. I was just relieved to get them out. They packed their things and left, and my sister hasn't said much to me since. Girlfriend said I did the right thing, but am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You are a saint for how long you tolerated all that. I'd have tossed them out the moment I got gruff over which bedroom the kid wanted. Seriously, kid, I said no. You're a visitor and you're not getting my room. If I have to repeat myself, you're out. You're all out. I agree. I stopped reading when OP said a month. A whole month of living with imbeciles. When the nephew tried to claim the room, I would have paid for a week at the hotel and that's the end. It's scary that they may still have been torturing OP and her girlfriend had she not heard brother-in-law disparaging her on the phone. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my coworker a ride after she kept assuming I would? I, 28 female, work at an office about 20 minutes from my apartment. I'm pretty quiet at work. Stay in my lane, finish my tasks, go home. A few months ago, a new coworker, Sarah, 31 female, started, and we got along fine. Nothing deep, just normal work friendliness. One day it was raining really hard, and as I was packing up to leave, she asked if I could drop her off at a bus stop a few minutes away. It was on my route, so I said sure, no big deal. The next day, she comes up to my desk at 4:55 p.m. with her bag and goes, "Ready to go?" I was confused and said, "Oh, sorry, I'm staying late today." She gave me a weird look, but said okay and left. From that day on, she started acting like I was her personal ride. She'd wait by the door at the end of the day. She'd text me, "Leaving now?" even though I never told her I drive her regularly. When I didn't offer, she'd get a little cold with me the next morning. Last Thursday, she messaged me at 4:40 saying, "Can you take me to the mall after work?" The mall is 25 minutes in the opposite direction of my home. I told her, "Sorry, that's too far out of my way." She replied, "Wow, okay." The next day, she barely spoke to me and acted like I'd betrayed her. Another coworker even asked me what happened because apparently Sarah told people I promised to help her out and then backed out. I've never promised her anything. I gave her one ride during a storm and was just trying to be nice. I don't mind helping occasionally, but I don't want it to be assumed or expected, especially when it's inconvenient and she never offers gas money or anything. My sister says I was too nice in the beginning and that people like that will always push boundaries. Another friend says maybe I should have just driven her to avoid drama. I don't feel like I did anything wrong, but the tension at work is awkward now. Am I the a-hole for telling my coworker I couldn't keep giving her rides? This will sound like an overreaction, but I promise you it's not. Tell your manager what's happening and that you're considering going to HR because she's starting to tell people a false account of what happened and you don't want a hostile workplace. Now, hopefully your immediate manager will handle the situation themselves. But if they don't, then you've taken the appropriate steps before actually going to HR. And then if she escalates her behavior after reporting to your manager, then all the more reason to take it to HR. It seems small now, but if you allow her to build a false narrative about you now, then she's going to continue to do it in the future. So it needs to be nipped in the bud before it's allowed to get to that point. It's not a small matter when people start attacking your character at work directly to your co-workers. Definitely not the a-hole. She was definitely trying to force you into being her ride by trying to make you feel embarrassed about the whole thing. Came to say this: protect yourself and your job. Do not hesitate to talk to your manager or HR. Not the a-hole. Go to HR and get this shut down. There is a misunderstanding between Sarah and me. She has assumed I would drive her anywhere after work, including places 1 hour round trip out of my way. This has caused office tensions and I want it documented to protect me from any issues. Give them the examples. Good luck. 100% this. If she's spreading lies and generating bad feelings about you to others in the office, it could come up in a review or even a disciplinary action. At that point, you just look defensive. Get it on record ASAP that this is the situation. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not giving individual Christmas gifts to my sister's kids? To start off, my sister and I are not close. Nothing happened. I don't think she's a terrible person. We are just two very, very different people and live very separate lives. We text each other on birthdays and call each other once around the holidays, and that's it. We live thousands of miles away from each other, and it's been about 8 years since I've seen her and her family in person. I don't have kids, while my sister has always dreamed of a huge family, and she got her wish. Between her and her husband, they have 9 kids between the ages of 2 and 16. After my sister and her husband got married and the head count reached over 4, I decided to just start getting something for all the kids to share on Christmas. Some years it's been something for all of them to do. Some years it's been something like a gaming system. I figured it was probably nicer to get one expensive gift that they probably wouldn't have gotten, rather than 9 cheaper ones. My sister's never said anything about it, although I don't know how she really feels about this. A week back, I got a surprise call from my sister. She said money was super tight this year and was wondering if I could get all the kids something they can unwrap individually instead of one big thing. I asked her to send me their Christmas lists to see what that would look like. Most of the kids ask for really expensive electronic items, totaling well over $100 a kid. If I got everyone something from their list, that would come to well over $1,000. I haven't even met some of the kids, and I am not even part of a religion that celebrates Christmas, so I thought that was a ton of cash to drop. I called my sister back and said, "Hey, I appreciate money is tight because, hello, it is." She's raising the next lineup for the Braves. Not that I said that. But I said I'm just not in a position myself to spend over $1,000 on Christmas gifts. My sister got upset and said she just wanted to give the kids all something to open. I said I understood, but unless she was willing to let me know some cheaper options, I wasn't able to spend that much. We went back and forth for a while before she snapped and called me a jerk and hung up. We haven't spoken since. I appreciate the position she's in, but I just can't justify spending that much on Christmas presents. Am I the a-hole? I have to say, if you consider $100 expensive for gifts, I don't get it. It's not cheap, but it's definitely not expensive. To suggest the gift of $10 to $20 is a waste of money, all you get for that is junk and crap that will be tossed aside. Better to send each kid a $20 bill and wrap it up crazy. A mix of bills and coins. If you have been a broke parent at Christmas time, you will try everything so your kids have a good Christmas. Because when they go back to school after the holidays and get asked what they got, socks is a recipe for bullying and teasing. All the adults can be a-holes or have too many kids, but don't take it out on the kids. $100 a gift isn't insane, but when you multiply it times 9, yeah, it's kind of a lot. I don't blame my sister for wanting a nice Christmas for her kids. That's totally reasonable. But I don't think it's reasonable to ask me to spend that much. Not the a-hole. The cynic in me thinks if you buy those gifts, the labels on them are coming off and getting replaced with love from mom and dad. Do a combined gift or get them something like PJs, a book, and a hot chocolate each, or an Amazon voucher each, at a value that's affordable, or just nothing. Because the level of entitlement from your sister is gross. She's using you as a gift ATM. The fact you've never got a thanks or a photo of the kids playing with your gifts tells you all you need to know. But if OP gives each kid a sweatshirt with OP's picture and favorite aunt written on them, then sis can't claim it's from her. You are not an a-hole. She sounds as if she is somewhat desperate, and with that many children, that would not be a surprise. She likely assumes that with no children, you are well off financially, and spending $1,000 on her kids would be doable. That is really unreasonable of her. Having said that, do send 9 wrapped gifts, but restrict the cost to what you can afford. Be sure to include a card with each gift specifying that it is from Aunt X and Uncle Y. Yeah, since we don't talk about anything deep, I'm sure she just assumes we aren't struggling. We aren't at the moment, but with the economy, we are playing it safe. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband to leave after years of him threatening to walk out? I am 42 female and my husband is 44. We have been together since 2010 and married since 2014. We co-founded a company together. He is the technical partner, and I somehow ended up running everything else, such as operations, admin, finance, HR, and client management. I'm also the majority shareholder. For years, our fights have followed the same pattern. Whenever there is conflict, he threatens to leave. I have lost count of how many times I have heard him say he is done or he is leaving. Every time I would calm him down, reassure him, and try to fix the situation. This time, I could not do it anymore. The argument started because he messed up a client schedule. When I pointed it out, he immediately blamed a staff member, even though he never gave them the information they needed. This is something he does often. If something goes wrong, it is rarely his fault. Things escalated very fast. We both yelled. I am not pretending I was calm. I was tired and frustrated. In the middle of the fight, he said again that he was done and wanted to leave our home. For context, the home is a company-owned unit and not a personal marital property. After hearing that same threat for years, I snapped and said, "All right, if that is what you want, then leave. You have 48 hours." That is when everything flipped. Suddenly, I was the cruel one. He said I was throwing him out, that I did not care about his mental health, and that I was abusing my position as majority shareholder. I have never used my role against him in any way. Then he said he would not leave unless the company paid for the accommodation he wanted. The place he wants is far more expensive than anything we would approve for anyone else. We even have a decent temporary unit ready, but he refused it because he said he would not live there. At the same time, he still has full access to company systems, such as admin accounts, technical files, client information, and company-issued devices. I told him that if he leaves, he will need to turn over the company property. That is basic protocol and nothing personal. He said I was punishing him. The reality is that this fight did not come out of nowhere. It is the result of years of the same dynamic. He becomes defensive, positions himself as the victim, minimizes what I and the staff do, and every task he cannot keep up with eventually becomes my responsibility. Every major argument ends with him threatening to leave. This time I did not soothe him. This time I said he could go. Now he is telling people I am the cold, heartless wife who kicked him out and used my position against him. From my side, it feels like I finally set a boundary after years of emotional exhaustion. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for giving him 48 hours and telling him he would need to return company property if he leaves? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. He was trying to emotionally manipulate you for years, and now that you stood up for yourself, he's searching for other victims to manipulate, hence talking to others about how mean you are. And if you both go separate ways in the end, just take this as a lesson to not get in professional business with someone who has a close personal connection to you, be it a romantic partner, a parent, a close friend, or an offspring you might have in the future. It often ends up bad because there's always power imbalance in it, whether the power is being abused or not, because this power imbalance gets in people's subconsciousness. And for those who can't separate personal relationships with professional relations, like your husband, their subconsciousness gets them acting messy. You put something into words that I've been avoiding admitting. It really is tough when your partner doesn't treat you right professionally, because it does spill into the personal side no matter how hard you try to keep them separate. I've carried a lot of resentment quietly for years because I kept telling myself it was just work stress. But it affects everything at home too. Seeing someone point it out so plainly makes me realize how much I've been holding in. Not the a-hole. Of course not. He's been using that threat against you to manipulate you for all these years, so he's mad that it's lost its power over you. The only thing he's a victim of is his own manipulativeness. Good riddance to the mentally abusive loser. Because he's abusive though, please watch out for your safety. Abuse escalates rapidly at times like these. Thank you for this. Every time I call out something he does, he tells me I'm the one abusing him, which has honestly made me question myself so many times and almost believed him. He always frames himself as the one who's hurt or neglected, even when he's the one who escalated or created the problem in the first place. I think I got so used to cushioning everything for him that I didn't realize how much he relies on flipping things back on me whenever he's confronted. This whole situation just made it clear how long that pattern has been happening. I appreciate the reminder to be careful too. I'm taking things step by step and trying not to let him rewrite what actually happened. Next story. Am I the a-hole for leaving when my husband said he'd help me in 30 days so we're on the page? I've been with my husband for 9 years, married for 7. We have 2 children, a 4-year-old and a 10-month-old. With my eldest, I had no issues. I gave birth, stayed home with her, and was able to function normally. Of course, there were some postpartum hormones, but nothing terrible. After the birth of my youngest, I slipped into postpartum depression. I was very overwhelmed and stressed. It started out as what I considered normal postpartum hormones, and I figured going from 1 to 2 is naturally hard. But as the months passed, things got worse. My anxiety and intrusive thoughts were getting more and more overwhelming. It took a very scary incident for me to seek help when my son was 8 months old. I thought I was just going to see a therapist, but ended up being admitted for 72 hours. After talking with a variety of professionals and my husband, we agreed it was best for me to seek further inpatient treatment. I was worried about my husband juggling the house and the kids, but thankfully, our village stepped up. We had 2 family friends who rotated watching our kids during the day at the respective friends' houses. Someone else stepped in to do laundry, another person made meals. From what I've heard, they were doing their best to make sure my husband's life changed as minimally as possible, and the kids' routine remained the same. The only thing my husband had to do was put the kids to bed at night, get them ready in the morning, and clean around the house, as well as work. I knew it'd be tight, but he swore it'd be done. I was gone 30 days. My kids and husband visited me once a week. Things seemed fine. My husband just kept saying, "Worry about you." Before I left treatment, I had a few sessions with my husband where we both agreed he needed to step up more around the house, and I needed to be better about asking for help. I got home from treatment and the house was a mess. I don't think my husband cleaned it at all while I was gone. Our eldest's room hadn't been tidied either, toys and clothes strewn everywhere. It's then my husband chose to tell me that she refused to clean it up, and he didn't want to push it. The next day, I helped her clean it, and we had a talk about listening when mommy or daddy asks her to tidy up. It was a Saturday, and I asked my husband to please help me clean the house. He made excuses about how tired he was from work. I got upset and reminded him about our talk in therapy. He said that could start later and he had done all the work while I was gone, and it was my turn to catch up. I was in so much shock from the conversation that I just cleaned, but the rage slowly simmered. I ended up calling my therapist to work through the emotions, and she encouraged me to try talking to him again. I waited until the kids went to bed and first asked how he was doing. I let him talk about his feelings because I know me going away wasn't easy. Afterward, I shared my feelings and calmly said I was very frustrated that we talked about him helping me more, and already it wasn't happening. I asked how he would feel coming home after 30 days to a messy house. I pointed out that he had people taking the kids on the weekend. He had so many points, but I said I could also understand just being overwhelmed and not wanting to even help me that day really hurt. He told me again that I was overreacting and that he'll start helping me in 30 days because that's how long he was left to do it on his own. I ended up leaving that night. I took the kids and we went to stay with a relative. In the month since, we've seen each other. He takes the kids on the weekends. We're starting couples counseling soon, but I said I'm not sure if I want to stay in this relationship, given that he's weaponizing all this against me. He keeps telling me I'm crazy. My family's on my side, but his family is telling me that I overreact and am ungrateful. Our friends seem mixed. The ones who helped the most during that time are on my side and said if he had asked for help cleaning, they would have. I maintain I'm not leaving because I came back to a messy house, but rather his attitude when I returned. I'm also not saying I'm going to divorce him, just that we need massive counseling. Am I really in the wrong for this? Your husband does not sound like a good person. You are not the a-hole, in any way. 1. He called you crazy after you were at inpatient mental health treatment for 30 days. That is a terrible thing to say, and you can't convince me it wasn't intentional word choice. 2. People were making meals, doing the laundry, and watching the kids. Now that you are home, you are what? Expected to do all of that by yourself? And he thinks that's reasonable to provide some sort of cosmic balance to his world? Who the heck does he think he is? 3. What did your therapist say when you told them about this "you owe me 30 days" BS? Have you had a couple sessions since then? This man is horrible, and you deserve so much better. My therapist agreed with me leaving. She pointed out most of what you said. He had so much help when I was gone. The whole reason I got as bad as I did is I had no help, which is partially on me for not asking anyone, but it doesn't change that he had a whole village and I didn't. My therapist hasn't told me to divorce, but I can tell she'd be on board if I said I was going to. It sounds like nothing of value will be lost by leaving him. Why the doubt? Does he make your life better or easier? Or worse/harder? I wanted to try to make it work. I felt like it was my fault things were getting bad because my mental health took a dip. Now I see even with my eldest, he was barely helping and made a lot of excuses. And that's when I was in good shape. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my partner I'm tired of pausing my life for his video games? For context, I, 21 female, and my boyfriend, 24 male, have been dating for almost 2 years now. When he and I first met, we both worked a lot, and he was newer to town, so he wasn't playing his video games as often. He'd play if I was at school or working. Fast forward 6 to 7 months, and he and I are living together. Currently, he has been playing at least 8 hours a day, and we very rarely go to bed together anymore. Our intimate life is lacking, and I honestly feel neglected emotionally. There have been multiple times in the last month where he has been completely clueless about something I know I have spoken to him about, and he'll blame it on crappy selective hearing that all men have. Honestly, I feel that his actions recently have been inexcusable. I work full-time and am in nursing school. He finished school today and has yet to find a job. My final straw, though, was about 2 weeks ago. I'm on my way home from a 14-hour shift. I don't want to cook. I just want to relax and spend some time with my man. I call him asking if he's eaten and if he's hungry. He states that he hasn't eaten, but that he is hungry. I then tell him that I am on my way and will pick him up from home so we can go have dinner. He responds, "But I'm playing games with the boys." Fast forward, I come home after eating dinner and having a drink alone, and there he is playing World of Warcraft. I let out a sigh and go into my bedroom, where our basket of clean laundry was placed onto the bed and was unfolded. I fold and put the laundry away, proceed to shower, and lie down. He wakes me up 45 minutes later, asking what we're doing for dinner. I freaked out on him, telling him he's an adult and he can figure it out himself, and that I'm tired of pausing my life so he can live out some fantasy BS on a PC. I think the thing that's frustrating me is that he's shown me he can be better than this. Do I continue to ride it out and hope that this is just his way of maladaptively coping with being jobless? Or do I present an ultimatum? He woke you up, asking about dinner? With food in the house, presumably? Yet, he woke you up? That is correct. He didn't realize I had eaten dinner alone. I ended up blowing up on him about this Thanksgiving night and told him that I thought it was pathetic and childish to prioritize a video game over ensuring my investment was taken care of, spending time with someone and/or being intimate. He then said that he felt crappy about not having a job and that he has been applying to places, etc., which I know he has, and that he feels like everyone around him has just been hounding him for things he can't control at the moment. And I told him that there will be ups and downs with life, times where the other person has to help out and hold the reins. However, he can control communication, respect, and effort. Is he applying to any job or a job that he wants? He needs to apply for anything if it's the latter. Otherwise, he might need to revise his resume and make it better. We both have revised his resume, and he is applying for anything. Last story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to pull my daughter from her art class after her friend told me my husband was flirting with her mom? My 44 female daughter, 13 female, does not have many friends at school and has been getting into trouble because of her behavior. We have been trying to get her involved in more activities so she can meet new people. She started an art class a few months ago and it seemed to be going well. She gets along with the girls there, and she is especially connected with one friend, 14 female. I have met this friend's mom a few times while picking my daughter up. About 3 months ago, the mom told me she was considering taking her daughter out of the group because of her work schedule. Then she directly asked if I could pick her daughter up every week and drop her off at their house. It felt like a pretty bold thing to ask, especially since we did not know each other very well. But I checked the address, and it was an easy detour for me, so I agreed. Over time, I got to know my daughter's friend a bit more, and honestly, I have mixed feelings about her. She comes across as kind of mean. She gossips a lot and says nasty things about the other girls in the class. For about a month, I could not do the pickups because of work, so my husband handled it. He never complained or mentioned anything unusual. Last week, when I started doing pickups again, my daughter's friend made a strange comment. She referred to my husband as my ex-husband. When I corrected her, she said she just assumed we were divorced. I asked why, and she said it was because of how my husband and her mom flirted with each other whenever he dropped her off. She said it as if it were a joke. My daughter was in the car but did not say anything. I became upset and told her to stop lying, but she told me to ask my husband if he had offered to come to their house and fix their pool heater. That sounded completely made up, because my husband knows nothing about pool heaters. That night I asked him, and to my surprise, he admitted he had said that. He told me it was just a throwaway comment to be polite, and he never planned to actually do it. We had a big argument. He denies having done anything inappropriate beyond that. Now I am considering taking my daughter out of the class. I do not want our family involved with that other family at all, but at the same time, this girl is my daughter's only real friend right now, and she loves the class. I am not sure what to do. You could tell the kid's mom that you can no longer provide transportation for her daughter. Cut out the threat while not punishing your daughter. Sounds like the only threat is the husband, who either started flirting with a woman or didn't nip it in the bud when she started it. I feel like you are creating a tempest in a teapot. Your whole suspicion of your husband is based on wobbly info. 1. He offered to help with a pool heater, okay? Didn't you agree to help this woman driving her daughter around for the rest of the year yourself? Why are you allowed to help this woman but not your husband? 2. The word of an unreliable teenager whose whole life seems to be about gossips and saying nasty and mean things about others. Have your husband ever given you reasons not to trust him? Unless there is a past we don't know about. And you're the a-hole for thinking of pulling your daughter from an activity she enjoys. If he is really flirting with this woman, don't take it out on your daughter. She has nothing to do with this situation. This is between your husband and you. Don't punish her for that. Imagine giving your partner grief and taking away something from your child because of the words of an a-hole 14-year-old kid. Strong agree you're the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for refusing to invite my estranged mother to my wedding and rethinking my engagement because my fiancé sided with her? I'm feeling completely overwhelmed right now, and I honestly don't know how to react because the people I trusted the most are turning on me. For context, when I was in high school, my mom, 51 female, cheated on my dad, 53 male, with the father of a guy from my soccer team. It was a small town, so the fallout was massive. My parents separated and I stayed with my dad, but the bullying at school was relentless. My mom's side of the family tried to reach out and appeal for her, telling me to forgive her, but I hated them all. The only exception was my grandma and a few cousins. My grandma was the only one on that side who truly understood my pain. She passed away a little after everything went down, and her funeral was the last time I saw most people from my mom's side. I resented them for not disowning my mom, so I cut almost everyone off, except for those few cousins. At school, I took the bullying for months, until one day I just snapped. I was getting surrounded by people in the hallway, and they were making comments and laughing in my face. Usually, I just ignored it and went back to class immediately, but I don't even know what came over me that day. I grabbed a fire extinguisher off the wall and went nuts. I sprayed the foam, swung the canister, and went completely manic. I attacked my bullies, but I was so mentally gone that I ended up attacking random guys too. The cops had to be called, and I was put in a psych ward for a week. When I came back to school, it was awful. Everyone was terrified of me, including the teachers. People thought I was a lunatic. No one would sit next to me, and everyone walked on eggshells, including the teachers. Some parents petitioned the school to expel me, but since it was close to the end of the year, the school let me finish and told my dad I couldn't come back the next year. Around this time, my mom agreed to a 70-30 custody split, but the one good thing she did was let me live with my dad full-time. We moved to the East Coast to live with my dad's brother. That's when I started lying. At my new high school, I just wanted a clean slate, so I told people my mom had passed away. When she would visit for her custody time, I gave her the cold shoulder. I pretended she didn't exist, even when she was in the room. Eventually, the visits became interrupted and less frequent. She tried to come to my high school graduation, but I asked school security to have her removed, and they escorted her out. As soon as I turned 18 and couldn't be forced to see her, I went no contact. I went to college, and she tried to visit me on campus once or twice, so I called campus police on her. I met my girlfriend, now fiancé, in my sophomore year. I told her the same lie, that my mom passed away while I was in high school. My dad eventually told her the truth years later. She was upset, but we worked through it because I explained the trauma and the psych ward experience. Fast forward to now. I've been doing really well financially. I have a great job, and I finally felt stable enough to propose. She said yes. I didn't tell my extended family though, because I know the cousins I stayed in touch with my mom and give updates against my will, so I withheld the information. Last week, my uncle passed away. He was the one who took us in after the affair, so it hit me hard. At the funeral, my mom showed up unexpectedly. I was ready to lose it and kick her out myself, but my fiancé stepped in. She went to talk to my mom to get her to leave calmly. Apparently, while she was walking her out, my fiancé, whom my mom had never met before, told her that we are engaged. My mom started crying because she didn't know. Now those cousins are blowing up my phone, saying it's unfair that I didn't tell them about the engagement and pressuring me to invite my mom to the wedding. But what hurts the most is my fiancé. Ever since that interaction, she has been siding with them. She keeps saying that my mom looked so broken and that everyone deserves a second chance. I feel like I'm going crazy here. I don't owe my mother anything. Keeping her out of my life has been the key to my sanity, and all the progress I've made in therapy feels like it's coming undone. My fiancé knows everything, the psych ward, the bullying, all of it. And she still leaked my engagement to the one person I wanted to hide it from. Now she's judging me for not wanting to reconcile. I'm genuinely having trust issues with her now. I feel like she broke my boundary and is siding with the woman who ruined my childhood. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. How could you remain with someone who so completely disregards your trauma and insists on re-traumatizing you with the one boundary that you have made? She comes from a good family where no one traumatized anyone, and her mom passed away a while ago, and maybe she's projecting. Odds are my mom's probably a changed person, but I just can't stand her. She makes me physically sick. I feel like I've become a new person in the last 8 years since we moved, and whenever I see her, it's like I've run so far and she catches up to me. And now it feels like everything in my life that I've so carefully built and constructed is being brought down. It doesn't matter what she thinks, she should be listening to what you are telling her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my wife do all the chores since she used the chore money for herself? I work out of town at a very physically demanding job. Strangely enough, I am really lazy. But I make lots of money, so I have no problem paying people to do all my housework and yard work. I have a cleaning lady and a kid who mows my lawn and shovels the snow. My wife knew all of this throughout our relationship. I didn't keep it a secret or anything. She actually seemed to appreciate that my place was always clean when she came over, and that there were more than just pickles and beer in my fridge. She lived with her parents to save money while she paid off her student loans. We discussed her living with me, or even just staying in my house while I was gone, but she wouldn't go for it. Her family's very traditional. Anyway, we got married in September and she finally moved in with me. She is amazing, and I am stunned by how hard of a worker she is. I also offered to pay off the remaining balance on her student loans, but she wouldn't agree to that. What she did agree to, though, was to take over housekeeping and shopping, in return for the money I used to pay my housekeeper being added to her budget. It kind of sucked, but a couple of the guys I work with took her on, so she is okay. The problem is, her dad is big on doing all the work around his house. I am not. I pay people to clean my gutters. I pay plumbers, electricians, whatever. I work extremely hard for 14 days in a row, and when I'm home, I want to relax. I want to walk my dog and not much more. My dog lived with my parents when I worked, but now he is home with my wife. Since we got married late in the year, my lawn didn't need to be mowed after our honeymoon. We've had a weird year for snow. We just got our first big dump. Since I was coming home last night, she told the kid not to shovel, and she kept the money. Whatever, we are a partnership. She can make decisions like that. However, despite whatever her dad has to say about it, I don't shovel. I could get hurt, or worse, sweaty. So this morning I made sure she knew that if the snow wasn't removed in 48 hours, we would get a citation from the city. They would send out a crew to shovel, and we would be charged for it at city union labor rates. She said I could shovel. I said I could, but I wouldn't, since I had budgeted for someone else to do it. She ended up having to do it herself. She tried calling the kid, but he was going to school, so he couldn't do it until afterward, and he had other clients to take care of. She is mad at me because I could have shoveled. I fully could have, but I didn't want to. I never want to. That's why I pay other people to do that stuff. I don't even like that I have to unload the dishwasher now. I used to just throw dishes in there, and they would end up in the cupboard. Am I the a-hole for assuming that if she took the money for a job, then she would take responsibility for that job getting done? Not the a-hole, but I think you should keep hiring people to do chores and not give your wife the money to do them. I don't think she respects the fact that you don't and can't do some of the work that her dad does. I could do that work, I just don't want to. That's still valid. You're not refusing because you can't. You're refusing because you already paid so you don't have to. That was the agreement. Taking the money means taking the responsibility. Not the a-hole. To be honest, I wish my hubby would do this. Then more time for hobbies, lol. There are studies that show that purchasing services to reclaim your time leads to longer-lasting happiness than using the same amount of money to buy things. Time is valuable. OP found a way to waste less of his. It's worth the cost. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to know how much money my husband makes? My husband and I just got married this year, after being together for 9 years. When we first got together, he was very reserved about his financial situation. He owns a business, and I didn't feel the need to ask or pry. As we've been together, we've slowly morphed into me working a part-time job and him paying all the bills, which I am very grateful for, and try my best to show my appreciation for as much as I can. I also take care of all the household duties and pay for groceries about half the time. We've seemed to settle into this arrangement with no issues from either side. He's never disclosed how much money he makes annually or given me any insight into his finances. I know that there's no debt or anything like that for a few reasons I can't disclose here. Throughout the years, I have interviewed for full-time jobs. I had an offer for a 6-figure job and nearly accepted it until he said, well then we can't go to X, a place we frequently stay for weeks or months, and I'll have to go alone to Y, etc., in a way that made me feel guilty, or like I'd miss out on the life we currently share. He also bought our new house without me being present or even knowing he purchased it, saying it was a surprise. I did tour it before and really liked it, so it wasn't an issue. It's just the fact that I was not included in this decision-making. Now that we got married recently, I felt it was time that I fully knew what was going on. We're planning to have children, and I'd like to know what our budget looks like. Private school, nanny, etc., if those are in our budget. I also pay for most of my own expenses, hair, makeup, clothing, workout classes, etc., with my own money from my job, and if I had a child, I would not be working as much. This is where we are currently. He tells me I could easily check the bills that come in the mail and know what's happening that way. I said, okay, sure. So I made a spreadsheet of the expenses I could find, noting the due dates and autopay cards, etc., just trying to work with what I could get. He still will not tell me how much money he makes or show me bank accounts or statements, although I have seen 1 or 2 over the years on the counter. He says I could assume from our lifestyle and cars that we're well off. Our house is worth 7 figures, and our cars are around 6 figures. I said I understood that, but I feel that if I'm going to have a child with him and become more dependent, I'd like to fully understand. He says that it's not important, and that I'll tell people. We have not had any issues with me disclosing personal things in the past. All in all, I am very grateful for the life he provides. And I've tried to make that clear as much as I can, but I don't want to go into parenthood blind to these things. He thinks that it shouldn't matter because I'm taken care of. But I never anticipated I'd be in this position. I've always been a career-oriented person until this relationship. Edit to add, I have seen his credit report when we pulled it for our most recent car lease, and it is very high. No issues there. This is our first year legally married, so we have not filed taxes together yet. We have not done any legal paperwork for the marriage, other than filing the license. I'm more than willing to sign a post-nup in this case. No gambling, addiction, or debt that I can see. We spend 90% of our time together, so I think I'd notice. Am I the a-hole for wanting to know how much my husband makes? I am throwing this out there to everyone that gets married. You are being dumb if you don't have an in-depth conversation about finances with full transparency before getting married. Not just finances, kids, how you want to raise said kids, home upkeep expectations, long-term goals, etc. You should be able to have adult conversations with someone you are going to marry. You need to get a job and manage your own finances. And you would be the a-hole to yourself if you didn't take this into your own hands and look after yourself. Do you know what he does for his business? Something tells me he's either spending well above his means, and you're in debt and don't know, or his business isn't legit. Yes, I do know what his business is and have frequently gone to his place of work, so I know that he's not lying about that. I'm not sure about the overspending because I do know that our house is paid off fully, and he was very frugal with his money before and in the early days of us being together. He lived in his previous home for 20 plus years and had it paid off for a while, so I don't think that could be it. It's just strange. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my boyfriend move in with me? I, 28 female, live alone with my dog, 12 female. Let's call her Nina. She is my baby. I found her and her siblings when they were about 2 weeks old and cared for them. Only 2 survived sadly, but I have to admit, I spoiled her from the beginning because she barely made it. My boyfriend, 30 male, still lives with his mom, which is not abnormal in our culture. But lately they've been fighting a lot because his sister moved back in with her kids and he doesn't have much space. He has a very good job, so he could realistically move out on his own, but he is very insistent on wanting to move in with me. We've only been dating for 8 months, and I don't think we're there yet. Also, every time he visits, he complains about something related to Nina. He got mad the other night because he wanted to sleep over and wanted me to kick Nina out of the bed, and I refused. I told him before that if he doesn't like it, he can literally just break up with me. I'm not changing my life for Nina's life, just because he doesn't want to move out alone. Well, on Friday, he got into a big fight with his family because one of his nephews grabbed his Nintendo Switch and damaged it or something. He came to my house with all his things packed, pretending to just stay over without telling me, and immediately started trying to change things around. He said Nina could sleep on the floor in our room or in the living room, but he wasn't going to live with a dog that's on the furniture. To make a long story short, I kicked him out and told him he never even asked if he could come over, and that Nina lives here. He doesn't. He yelled a lot and got even more mad when I didn't react. He left, and he's been texting me from a hotel, telling me he's losing money because I'm mean and a bad girlfriend. I told him we'll talk again once he gets his own place. I told my friends about it, and some of them were on my side, but others said I was prioritizing a dog over a human. And yes, maybe I am, but why is that so wrong? I started doubting myself, but I'm not really willing to make my dog suffer because he can't adapt to her or find his own place. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. He sounds like the type of person to give away your dog when you leave, and then say it ran away. Also, he wants to move directly from mama to you. He wants someone to continue taking care of him, to cook and clean. I just cringed a little and feel stupid now. Not the a-hole. Break up with this guy. Not just because he can't respect that your dog lives there, but because he doesn't respect you and the rules in your home. If you let him move in, he will just take over, and he'll probably abuse your dog when you're not around. This guy doesn't communicate with you. He imposes himself on you without warning and then tries to throw his weight around. He truly isn't worth your time. He sounds like a nightmare. I wanted to break up, but my friend said I was overreacting, so I doubt myself. Besides him being a hobosexual, he is not a dog person, and you are. Find someone who is and have a happy life. You can do far better than him. There are so many times opposites attract, and so many things a couple can have respectful, contrasting opinions about. But a person who loves animals and a person who can't stand animals will never be happy together. One will always resent the other, either for having a pet or for never being able to have a pet.